right. Well, what are we, episode 86? I think it's about time. Let's hop right on into it. Episode 86 of Whatchu Spinnin is here, and it is time to begin. Boys, how are we doing?
We are doing great. Look at us all together, remotely, making it work.
2 different room changes for you two. Love that.
Yeah.
I wanted to show up.
Yeah, what do we got behind you there, Matt? You got
Saul's, got Fever Ray.
there you go.
There you go.
Juggernaut. I couldn't see.
Yeah.
I love that. Right on. Right on. Anybody listening to anything new or cool lately?
Like I was telling you before we got live here, I've done a rabbit hole with your pick and kind of went all over the place, back to the early 90s and beyond. It was fun because a lot of those bands I listened to before, but it's been a long time and I've opened up a whole new world now. I felt like my music listening was getting kind of stagnant. So this is great. I have a lot of albums queued up, ready to listen to that are in this genre, that were either like the godfathers of the genre or like the children that were born afterwards, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, hell yes. I love that. You'll have to send me some recommendations, anything you find out of those albums for sure. Jake, what about you?
It's been like a week or two. I kind of stopped, but I got back into it. I was listening to a lot of The Green. It's like a reggae group, like mid 2000s, late 2010s. A lot of their albums I was going back into, like Ways and Means, and their self-titled, really good. That, and I've also been spinning a lot of just reggae in general. Like I spun the Vulcans Star Trek last week, and then I also spun a Bob Marley album that I have. So just been kind of back on my reggae kick, like some ska and dub.
Wonderful. That sounds awesome. Let's see. What have I been doing?
Yeah,
I've been listening to a lot of Wairunga, which has been fun to revisit, that Fat Freddy's Drop album. Let's see. Been getting kind of just more into American football and stuff similar to it. Kind of, not really, more indie stuff. I've been listening to a lot of, Tame Impala, more electro indie type of shit. So that's been really fun. And then I've been editing those jam files from those jam sessions that I've been doing. And so this week, that was a lot of what I was listening to, was that one of the last ones that I did, which was really fun because we ended up doing a really badass Chameleon redo in there. So that was really fun. But yeah, other than that, just Tame, kind of a lot of the same stuff. Been revisiting albums from artists we've talked about. Went down a 9 Inch Nails thing a week and a half ago. But other than that, just kind of this stuff to be honest with you.
Where did you go with the 9 Inch Nails?
Pretty Hate Machine. Yeah, that's my favorite. I think that's probably my favorite album of theirs, and so I go back to it a lot.
I mean, that's a great album.
Mm-hmm.
With the recordings that you're editing with your band, what are you doing with those after you're editing them? Are you guys planning to put them out or
I've been thinking about doing putting it out on making another SoundCloud account and putting them up on there. Just because I don't know anything, I don't know what they're wanting to do with it, but I've just been taking them and taking out because we'll take breaks here and there and just kind of cleaning them up, and then I just send them back to Christian, and then I don't know what he does with them, but yeah, I just have them on my laptop, and I was playing one of them today while I was doing shit just to listen to it without working on it. But yeah, I've been kind of thinking about. I'll have to look and see what the time limit is on SoundCloud because I can't remember it. I know I filled it up, but figure out because they're 2-hour-long tracks that we're dealing with here. So I'm
oh, okay. These are
so,
almost like a set, just a long track.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I'm I don't know how long you can have on SoundCloud anymore. I think it's 2 hours or something. Mm-hmm. But I just have them just like I have all of my big mixes to where if people want to hear them, I just email it to them. So,
you guys have any live shows coming up?
I don't know. I don't they haven't asked me to fill in for anything, but they also like haven't had a gig in a long time. They haven't had one since like October-ish, but yeah, we've been doing a lot of hangouts like almost every weekend that we've done the podcast for like the last 4 episodes. I've ended up going and jamming right after. So we've been playing pretty consistently, just like a different amalgamation of the same 5 dudes. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's been pretty fun. It's been pretty fun. We've been doing some cool stuff. It's kind of fun to like listen back to it and be like, oh, I didn't realize that we did that song, or because you're just like in it, and also not on this planet. And so I'm like, oh yeah, we did do fucking Bertha by the Grateful Dead at one point, shit like that.
Yeah, you're riding the snake, man. It's cool. Riding the snake to the end of the lake.
Yeah, I am the Astro.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I do have a question for you guys. Name an album that you've been listening to lately that's random in your Spotify mix or playlist. I'll start. I got Flowers in the Dark by Kofi Flex. You can't really see the album cover. More hip hop, kind of weird, abstract. Kofi Flex. It's got a couple of Lucid tracks, and Billy's on there, of course. I wonder why I like it. But
who would have thought?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Oh, let's see here. What do I got? I've been going back and listening to the last Rez album, like the last one that you put out last year, Can You See Me? I've been listening to that here and there lately, just out of nowhere. And that's been a fun revisit, just like her more, it's like that dark album she kind of put out. And so that's been really fun to revisit.
Nice.
Nice. I've been, like I said, the Green album. That one's good. I'm getting back into the Green. Also, just because I had it and I haven't spun it in a while, Los Caminantes, Supe Perder. It's like a Spanish album, like 80s, 90s shit. It's good too. That one too.
All your picks have been fire lately, Jake, so I want to hear that one now.
Yeah.
I don't spin it that much because it's old as fuck, and like the like sleeve is already falling apart. It's old, but who knows? Maybe someday.
Like an ancient manuscript. Every time you take it out, it's like got this music. Like,
I gotta dust it off.
Yeah.
Blow all the dust off of it, like an old tablet.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Excellent. I wrote those both down, so I'm going to try to give those a listener. Remember, too. Sorry, just made myself fall down. Hell yeah. I will definitely be giving those a peek-see. But without further ado, shall we dive in, boys?
Let's do it.
Excellent. All right. Well, it's Whatchu Spinnin' episode 86. Here we go. Hell yeah. Well, we are here, and it is time to move it along and talk about today's content that we're bringing up today here on Whatchu Spinnin' episode 86. I am Dorian, that is Matt, and that is Jake. We are here, and it's time to go. And to kick things off, we're going with a pick from 1999, the debut self-titled album from American Football. Doesn't that just look like a cozy little window? You just want to sit there and look at your neighbors. Anyway, kind of a pioneering album in like the late 90s, early 2000s, kind of like emo math rock era that kind of wormed its way through that timeline back in the day. But one that I kind of recently got into and have just been finding myself coming back to it a shit ton. So figured, why not bring it to the boys? But yeah, what did you guys think?
I love this genre. I like I told you guys earlier, I dove into a rabbit hole and found some more albums by this band that were great and went back to some other artists from earlier and beyond. It's such a mellow album. It's comforting in its ways. It's very soft and melodic. At times it's a little bit more upbeat. And I like that the lyrics aren't too deep, but the music is very intricate and there's cool time signatures and it's just ever changing. Every track is different. And I like the instrumentals. I don't need to hear his vocals all the time, but when he does sing, it's amazing. And I love his vocal. but this was the first experience that I had listening to their whole album. I know I sent you that song last year, but I never really dove into them. So I'm so glad you brought them up because, like I just said, I dove in their discography and it sent me down this rabbit hole. So this was a fun album. I think if you're into the emo math rock genre, this is a staple. Like this is part of that genre, and it showcases everything that they do well, musicianship wise, lyrically, and just, you know, being themselves. They didn't do a whole lot after that, but what they did definitely set like their tone here in the genre. So great pick.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so neat how me personally, I hadn't heard of this, but this album has just like such a cult following from their fans, and through the genre too, because like around this time frame also, like growing up, I would listen to a lot of my sister's music, and she was like, you know, we all kind of had that phase of like the emo or, you know, whatever, the goth, or we have like bow ties in our hairs and the eyeliner and all this shit. And like the emo that she was listening to was like Paramore and like Jimmy Eat World, you know, but nothing really like this. Like this is still in the same frame, but it's completely different. You know, it's on the opposite spectrum of mainstream emo. And the fact that I hadn't heard about it, but I am now, like, I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because it gave it time to like appreciate, like get more feedback, get more history out of it. Like the band split up like almost like immediately after this released, so it has like a lot of like lore mythology to it. But like listening to it, it's fantastic. It's really good. Like Matt said, it's at some points really mellow, other points really upbeat. Some tracks are just instrumental, like it's just, you know, just a guitar playing, or even if they do have lyrics, it doesn't take like, you know, 2-3 minutes until they actually kick in and start coming in the vocals. So it's really good. It also made me want to go back into their stuff. I heard their EP before this that they released, just because I was interested. Like I'm already a fan of it, so I heard their EP. The one with the tambourine is a good song on that EP. So it's made me a fan just coming up to it. So thank you for bringing it up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know what made me go back to it, because I think like it had been probably months at minimum since Matt had texted. And then I was like in the record store. I was at Moonrock on like a lunch or something, because I do that bad idea. I work 5 blocks basically from Moonrock, and so I'll just, oh shit, well, look where I ended up on my lunch break. And I was walking, and it was like right up front, basically in the A section, and I was like, hey, that's that fucking thing, and it was like $25, and I'd like just gotten paid or something, and so I was like, yeah, fuck it, like why not, you know? And I think I was in that rush to get to 200 records, and so I was just like, fuck it for sure. And then went home and spun it like the next day or the day after. And I was like, oh, holy shit. I was like, this is way different than what I was expecting. You know, the thing that you guys both have mentioned, the fact that there's not hardly any singing on it, or, you know, lyrics or anything. It's very minimal in comparison. That kept me coming back to it. I was like, damn, the vocals are sick and everything, and, you know, I really like his singing style and all of that. But the fact that it's like, oh, here's maybe a minute and a half of that, and then 5 minutes of a crazy, almost like soundscape, and then it's the thing that I love about it is it sounds minimalistic, but it also sounds like there's 5 people playing in the band, and it's like 3 dudes maybe, you know.
It does sound like that, yeah.
Yeah, so that was something that kept me coming back to it for sure.
This genre is so expansive, and it seems like when you get to like Texas and beyond on the East Coast, this is where you get that sound. They remind me of Explosions in the Sky, but with lyrics. They've got that dynamic guitar and drum and bass, and I just feel like there's so many bands across the country that sound like this, but in a good way. And like I said, this rabbit hole's huge. You guys should dive into it. It's fun. It's fun.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely will. I was looking into this a little bit more, and like on forums and stuff, and I guess they get memed on a lot. I don't know why, but I kind of like I saw something that kind of makes sense. Like they're in that rabbit hole of like in this time frame like emo bands that they had a constant theme. Like their album covers have some sort of building, like some sort of house or a home or something, and then some sort of sports reference. That I thought was funny. Like I was looking into it. I looked into it just to make sure if it was like if it was right. And there's like Japanese football and then like modern baseball. These
Yeah, I
are
was
like
gonna say,
fuck-
bands
you
and
see that one?
I
stuff.
Modern
fucking love
baseball?
modern
Yeah.
baseball. Okay.
Yeah. And I've heard of Japanese football, so I'm like, oh, that's I didn't know they were the same,
Yeah.
off of the same thing. So I thought that was funny, and but I think the fact that it gets memed on, like they make fun of themselves in a way, like they know it's kind of like, especially with the song Never Meant, like that's the first song opening track on the album. It's the one that people hear the most. But everything aside that, memes aside, like it's very good. It's a very solid album. Definitely gonna have to keep my eye out for this one because I don't have a lot of stuff like this in my collection, like stuff like emo, if you want to call it, or math rock or whatever. So this is definitely one that's up there for me.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like you guys have said, it's kind of a fun genre. It's not, something that we listen to every day or, that we've brought up a whole lot of. And, just because it's one of those, like, if you are a fan of it, it's huge, to you kind of things, and it is very much that, like, early 2000s, like, mall skater kid, checkered Vans. I'm dressing the part today. I've got the
Like
flannel, the backwards hat.
sweater and stuff. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's very much that. And yeah, I don't know. I was some notes from like my research today. I'll go through the lyrics. He like didn't sit down and try to write songs. He just had a journal from when he was like young and going through some shit. And he's like, "That'll work, I guess." It's literally there's a quote, and it's like, "I was just pulling things from my journal, and I would look and be like, that'll work, I guess,' and then throw it in a song." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like,
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and they made it in like a week or something, like right before everyone like graduated and left college or whatever.
yeah, that's it's crazy that like this album came out. I just love the cult following that it's like kind of retroactively gotten now, which obviously shout out, just kind of like we like shout out the internet and word of mouth for bringing random stuff back into the forefront, and all of that. But yeah, another thing, none of the songs are in the same tuning on the guitar, and they're not like standard tunings at all. I
Yeah.
looked up how to play one of them, and I was like, I don't even know anything remotely close to that tuning. Like, what the fuck is that? Like,
I love it when a band does that. I feel like that sets them apart. They're not trying to get copied, and they don't want people covering their songs. Which I think they did a cover album, didn't they?
I
Those
think
covers?
so.
Yeah, I don't recognize any of the covers, but I thought I saw that in their catalog. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that. I don't think I've heard anything off of that, but I'll have to check that out for sure. That sounds interesting, to say the least.
I appreciate how well the music's done too. I feel like what you said lyrically, a lot of these bands from this time frame and even beyond that, like the lyrics aren't a forefront of the music. Like it's all about the instrumentation,
Right.
time signatures, which I appreciate because sometimes you can't even understand what he's saying. Not all the time, but in a lot of the albums that are in this genre, you're like, what are they talking about? What are they saying? You're more focused on the music, and I love that. I love that because I'm all about that instrumental stuff, and it's right down my alley. So, American foosball, yeah.
Yeah. They apparently nowadays you can just buy a pedal to replicate the sound, but they said that almost every track also was like guitar layered like 3 or 4 times over each other, so they're doing that shit that
Mhm.
like huge rock and metal acts were using. They're like, yeah, no, we're just like 3 dudes in a random house in Illinois, on the University of Illinois campus. So fuck it, go fight an island. Let's layer guitar tracks on top of each other. Let's just dogpile guitar tracks and see what happens. And yeah, I think overall as a whole, this album is phenomenal. I think if you like anything even remotely close to this, I think you should listen to it. Whether you like fucking, I don't know, whether you like modern baseball or folk punk or, the fucking Cure, Depeche Mode. I think if you like any of those things, I think you could find something to like about this. So, but I am ready to do top threes if y'all are.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Shall we? Okay. I'll start off. Honorable mention. Jake, you kind of mentioned this. Never Meant. Incredible song. Great way to start it off. That just everything that the guitar does in that song is, I can't find anything I don't like. I'm like, the whole fucking time the guitar is just ripping, and I love it. Second honorable mention for sure. Really like that one. And then number 3 for me was I Should Be Leaving Soon. That instrumental track is just wonderful. Love that. Really, that one really took me back. I was like, yeah, this feels like 2002. Like, this is very much that type of energy. Number 2 was Honestly. Really like the opening guitar riff in that, and then the fact that there's singing for like 2 minutes, and then the other 5 minutes is just instrumental, basically. Love that one. And then number 1 for me, one of the ones that one of the few tracks on this where the lyrics were what kind of drew me to it, and on top of that, the instrumental kicks ass. I'll See You When We're Both Not So Emotional. Love that track. That's my favorite one off this. But yeah, I'm glad you guys like this. For sure, try to pick it up.
Dun.
For sure. Yeah, I'm gonna keep my eye out on this one. It feels so like homey. I don't know. Like every song, it's relatable. That's the thing about emo, is that it's like emotional. So it's like everyone can draw something from it with the lyrics. Honorable mention was The Summer Ends. Because like when you're a kid, when you're growing up, like you just don't want the summer to end. And I like that song. I love the trumpet on it. I love how there's it's subtle little horn actions here and there. Number 3 was Honestly. Same thing with you, Dorian. I like that little 2-minute, 3-minute break at the end where it's just they're just jamming, they're just playing their drums, guitar, everything. Number 2, I Should Be Leaving Soon. Also love an instrumental album or an instrumental song. I love a track that's just instrumental on it, and that one's really good. And my favorite track was Stay Home. A little bit towards the end. I really like that song. The lyrics I kind of relate to in a way, and also the instrumentation. So yeah, great album.
Definitely. I think we all love that For Sure track. That's my honorable mention, just because of the instrumental part, most of the song, and you get lyrics towards the end. Such a great song. Number 3, I Should Be Leaving Soon. Another great track. Don't need to say anything else about that one. Honestly is number 2. And then my favorite track, agree with Dorian, I'll See You When We're Both Not So Emotional, based on the title of that track. And the song is magic, man. It has so many deep meanings that it hit me right here. So love that.
Hell yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. I like to see some consistency with them top threes. But yeah, that was my pick for this week to start us off on a beautiful episode 86. That was 1999 self-titled debut album, American Football by American Football. We'll be right back to go back in time to, I think, the 70s and talk about Jake's pick for this week. It's Whatchu Spinnin, episode 86. Stick around. Bam, 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 bam. You know what it made me listen? You know what it made me spin the other day? Jacob was fucking Stereo Lab.
Yeah, it does have that.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, fuck, man. That was something that I respun the other day. Hell yeah, man. Speaking of the album that made me spin, Stereo Lab, it's about time to move on with Whatchu Spinnin episode 86. With one that I'm pretty sure we're all equally excited to talk about. With my main man, Jake. It's your pick. What you got?
Yeah, this pick this week, these last 2 weeks, Cortex. The album name is Tropeau Bleu. I'm probably butchering the fuck out of that. Came out in 75. 1975, so it's an older one. It's some like jazz funk fusion out from France, a French group out there. A couple band members that they had. The main band members though being Alain Mion, I think is how you pronounce his name. Funny enough, a lot of the there's like 5 band members at the time, and they were like all named Elaine. Like all the dudes were named Elaine. It was the weirdest fucking thing. But yeah, this is their debut album. Came out in 75. This has been on my radar for a long time. It's been on my want list for a long time on Discogs, and every website I'd gone to, every place I'd gone to, couldn't find it, couldn't order it. And then I saw that on Bandcamp they did a re-release of it. So I had to snag a copy, and it came in about a month ago. But it's been on my radar for a long time. What did you guys think about it?
How did it get on your radar, and where did you stumble upon this group? I mean, inquiring minds want to know.
Mm-hmm. What he said.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love hip hop. We love hip hop. This album has been sampled numerous times, hundreds of times. Specifically, one of the more iconic ones, "One Beer" by MF Doom, sampled a song on this album. It's like Hewitt, October 1971. That song was sampled on "One Beer," and I've been a fan of MF Doom for a long time, of hip hop, and I was like, hey, like, what's the sample of this? Let me look into it. And I stumbled upon Cortex, and I was like, okay, let me listen to the original song. I was like, okay, the original song fucking slaps. Let me listen to the album. And yeah, since then it's kind of just been on my radar of things to get at some point. But you can find samples of this really in anything, all throughout hip hop. I think it's regarded as like one of hip hop's favorite albums to sample. So yeah,
I can see why. There's so many good, lines and little piano riffs and organs and all these things on this album. It's so much fun. Like it brings me back to the 70s. I feel like I'm in that era, and like I can just put it on. I get that feeling, that emotion, whatever that means. I think it's just the way that her vocal hits and some of the instrumentation. It just blends so well together, and it just takes you back. It's like a time capsule in a sense. And the music itself is so good. They're all great musicians, and to have that vocal behind it, it's amazing. I was kind of blown away. I didn't know what to think at all. I was like, this is so unique, and it takes that whole era of the 70s, and it just kind of brings it to you. And I love that. It was fun. Even though I can't pronounce half the songs, I still love all of them.
Yeah. It does. It is, there's a lot to love about it, right? Like all of the instrumentation on it is beautiful. And the bass work on it is just out of this fucking world. Whatever his name is, Gavert or whatever, I can't remember. But he's just ripping on that bass the entire time, and it is damn impressive. But then, yeah, Matt, you kind of mentioned it. Her vocal is so beautiful, and it's like almost got this aquatic feel to it. Kind of provides an aquatic feel to the music because of how it's layered in with everything, and your brain kind of just naturally stops listening to the music and moving more toward the vocal, and then vice versa. And so you're kind of experiencing it in waves and stuff to where it almost requires a second or third or 10th listen. I was doing it. I listened to all of these albums like every day for the past like 10 days, basically. And this one, I was finding something new about it every time that I was falling in love with. One listen, I wouldn't even give a fuck about the vocal. The very next day, I'd be like, that's all I can care about is like the, whatever. That French broad is fucking cooking. Like, it's crazy. And then, yeah, like you said, Matt, there's a lot of really fun sounds and synths and stuff to where it is kind of in that jazz funk fusion kind of genre. And it's kind of crazy to think like Headhunters and Thrust and all of these, early jazz fusion albums came out 3 years prior to this, because this sounds so much like that, but at the same time so far removed from it that I love it. And I'm like, God damn, like because it's one of those that I've seen in the record store a handful of times, or something, and I'm like, oh, like whatever. And then when Jake brought it up, I was like, oh fuck, I finally get to listen to that. And I'm like, fuck, I wish I would have bought it any of those times I saw it. And so
Yeah.
No, I love this, man.
Yeah, it's like the white whale of like a hip hop lover's album, like outside of hip hop. That's not rapping, because it's just a fucking gold mine of samples. Like I was reading on the Wikipedia page, and there's a website called Who Sampled, that if you plug in like an artist or a name, it'll tell you like how many times and what songs have sampled it.
Mm-hmm.
As of 2022, it was 164 times the album was sampled. Wow. I checked today, it now has 202 samples on the album, which is insane, which is fucking nuts. But you have like, obviously Doom, you have, Madlib, Tyler the Creator, like a bunch of like rappers just loving this album, just wanting to recreate it in some way. So that I think speaks volumes, that it's like there's such a fun, loving album that like anyone, any genre can listen to and want to, in some way recreate or listen to or love. So, and touching back on her vocals are like all over this album. And she is so talented on her vocals. They're like haunting in some songs, like in fuck how you pronounce it, Chanson d'un jour d'hiver. That song, it's like you just hear it, like she just takes over. She takes over the song. She and the main guy of Cortex, they were married, and I think she unfortunately passed like a year or two, or pretty soon after this album came out. So that's kind of why they like didn't do much music afterwards, because there's a big break from this, and then they released the album the following year in '76, and then they split up and didn't do any music until the 2000s. So I think that kind of had a part to do with it, but it's just like such a staple in not only jazz and funk, but just in music in general. Like it's loved by so many people. So I felt like it was definitely willing of a mention on the pod, that I had to own it. I was gonna own it, so might as well bring it up.
To build upon that, the drumming on this album is so good. The snare drum, and even going back to American Football, your album, Dorian, drumming is so good on that one. But this album is just like, for some songs, that's all I hear. It's just that snare and that hi-hat, and it's going so well together, and that just captivates you and takes you away a little bit more. So great drumming, great percussion.
I've always been a big fan of jazz percussion and drumming in general, because it's so different from other things that you hear nowadays. And for some reason, it's like, because jazz is such like a free-flowing experimental like genre at its core, you get some damn impressive drumming out of it, much like whatever his name, the French fella on this album. And then not to keep beating the Herbie horse, but the drumming, like the crazy drumming that's on albums like Headhunters and all that shit. It's hard. I can't pick something I like the most out of this album. Low hanging fruit, because I do play bass. I'm like, the bass probably, but even when I listen to this, I'm like, fuck man, the drumming on this, out of this world. Like it's crazy. So I'm glad you pointed that out, Matt, because it is indeed.
That's good. You can appreciate that, just with the timing, and just it just sounds, everything sounds clean. And I love it when you get a jazz fusion kind of funky album and everything just sounds so good together. And this is one of those. That's why it's been sampled a billion times, and I'm sure it'll continue to be that way, because it's good. I'd sample it, but there's so many good parts on it. Right?
Yeah. I guess they met up, like the band met up off of like a poster that they were looking for people to play with, and the main guy, he like responded to it and brought his wife along, and they just started a band and released the album like in 2 days. So it's nuts. It's got a lot
days. That's
in
crazy.
2 days. Yeah, in 2 days. It's fucking nuts, man. It's got a lot of history on it, and there's a lot of interviews that he's done. Alan Moyne, the main guy of Cortex, and he's still like the only member that's still around with the band, that's still performing. They did recently. I saw on YouTube they did a show for Jazz is Dead. It's like a jazz venue concert thing, and they did majority of this album. And they had a new female vocalist on, and like they still captured that same feel that they did in '75 in live action. Like they still pull that same that same energy, that same feeling. They played that song Hewitt October, and like it's just like fucking gives you chills when you hear it. So it's a fun album. It's a great album. I'm glad you guys could like it and listen to it. I'm sure you guys have probably, after all our time spending listening to music and hip hop, definitely stumbled upon this at some point. So it's kind of good going to the original source of where that came from.
Yeah. When the first time I was listening to this and Wheat October came on, I was like, son of a bitch. Because you know how you'll see those videos on YouTube that's like breaking down MF Doom's or whatever the fuck. And so I had heard that song, and my brain just never absorbed the information like this is the original. And so that song comes on and I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, is this one beer? What the hell? Mm-hmm. And so that was a particularly fun day at work for me. I literally was like taken aback, but I was like, whoa. And I have one complaint. All of the Sabbats are too short. God damn it.
That's why there's 3 of them, right?
Yeah. Sabbath number 3 rocks, and it's only 30 seconds long, and I need it to be 5 minutes. I need
to loop that over and over and over.
Yeah, basically. I'll do it myself. I'll fucking throw that in Audacity and just loop that bitch. I don't give a shit.
And play your own bass line on it.
Yep.
Yeah. There we go. We're sampling it again.
There we go.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
No, glad you guys liked it. We can go into top 3s if you guys are ready for it.
Yeah, hit me.
Cool. Honorable mention, I'm gonna go with Hewitt October 1971. Just for the history of that album. And there's a lot of meaning to it too. I think that song is like a reference to the singer and the main guy Cortex, their wedding anniversary, which is fucking rough. But that song's just a staple in music and hip hop. Number 3, Prelude, A Go Round. Love that song. Love how it builds up to the actual go round the song, where that's just like a piano song that he just does on his own. There's no percussion, no singing, no nothing. It's just him. Number 2 was Chesson Dune Jord Diver. The 7th song on the album. Also really good. Love her vocals on that. And then my favorite track was Mary Et Jeff. That's where you hear that funky jazz. That's where you hear that funky jazz fusion, and also, like you guys said, with the quick drumming, the quick jazz upbeat drumming, and the bass in the background.
Yeah, that was my honorable mention, the Marriott Jeff, and I think it was a dedication to a band member, wasn't it? One of the band members.
Maybe. I didn't read that.
I think there was a guy named Jeff that left the band a little bit earlier, and so they decided to dedicate a song to him, which is cool. He must have had some sort of influence on their sound, so that's pretty sweet. I like to feel that song. Number 3, Prelude, A Go Around. Like Jake said, he summed it up right there. Nothing else to say. Number 2, Tropeau Bleu. Just the title track is pretty cool. Just whenever we get a good title track, I love that. And then number 1 was Chanson de un jour de hiver. I don't know how I said that, but I said it, and that was my favorite track.
Hell yeah. Honorable mentions for me. I couldn't justify putting one of the Sabbats in my top 3 based on how short they are, but Sabbat or Sabbat, Part 3 was one of my honorable mentions. Like I said, love that one. Second honorable mention for me, the title track, Tropeau, bleu. French is the weirdest language to try to act like you know how to speak, and I will never be able. I can fake that I can speak Spanish all day and all night, but yeah, not French. Yeah, number 3 for me, Le Font Samba. Like that one a lot. Number 2 for me was Wheat October 1971. I'm not going to deny it. I mean, One Beer's a great song, you know, whatever, all, and just the history behind it, as we mentioned. Number 1 for me was Prelude, I'll Go Round. Like that one. The bass line in that one in particular was very pleasing to me. I couldn't help it today. That song, I was sitting here doing my notes, and I was like, let me just fuck around to that song. And so that was pretty fun this morning. So yeah, that's my top 3. For Jake's pick. And I thank you for bringing up your pick, Jake. Tropeau Bleu by Cortex, released in 1975. Fun one. Go ahead and check it out, whether you like hip hop or jazz or not. I think anyone would get a kick out of that. But we'll be right back to wrap it up and talk about Mats. It's Whatchu Spinnin, episode 86, baby. Alrighty. It's about that time, baby. To wrap it up with a hell of a pick, which is my main man Matt's pick for this wonderful episode 86 of Whatchu Spinnin. One that I am, again, I'm sure we're all equally as excited to talk about it as the next person. But what you got for me?
Well, you brought up this band, I think last year, probably. It's been a while. And I loved them. This album I stumbled on before I heard your album, but it's IDLES from 2021, Crawler. The first time I heard this album in full was a live performance on YouTube, and it was on a show called The Basement, and Joe Talbot, the lead singer, just killed it, and they played most of this album on that that performance, and it was amazing. And so I was like, okay, I got to find this album. So I dove into it that way, and from there I just kind of went down to their catalog, and it was great. They've got this punk sound that's almost like an emo punk, but at the same time it's more of a, I think he's a little bit more aggressive with his lyrics, and the band's a little bit more metal than emo. So I like that aspect because it combines all these different genres, and they do it so well together, and they get great producers. We got Kenny Beats on here, who has been around everything that we love. Hello. We got Freddie Gibbs, Vince Staples, all these different things that he's been a part of, and he's on IDLES. It's like, damn. So this was just a fun album. There's a lot of good songs. It was kind of made during the pandemic with COVID, and I think that there's a lot of lyrics that kind of play into that. There's a talk about addiction. Joe Talbot has an alcohol addiction that he's dealt with his whole life. His mom dealt with that, and so I think he's able to kind of put his spin on this album lyrically and kind of, you know, give it all up and just showcase who he was. And I love that when people can do that with their songs and lyrically just tell a story about their life and, you know, what they've overcome, and just speak out, you know, grow up and make a living making music. This album is so good. What do you guys think?
Damn. I did not know Kenny Beats was or he had some production credits on this. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Dude, that's cool. Damn, okay. Well, just that aside, now it has hella more kudos points. But that aside, it threw me off first listen. Like, it threw me off first listen because I was expecting, you know, like Joy as an Act of Resistance. I was expecting that, like, kind of more in your face, punk-esque, like just shouting, yelling craziness. I was expecting that. But this is like a lot more experimental. Like, they're kind of going more out of their way to make it different, to change their sound in a way. And you hear that, like, some songs are mellow, some songs are really quiet, and then you'll have other songs, you know, like Stockholm Syndrome or King Snake, that are like kind of in your face, just aggressive. So it kind of, you know, put me and saw a different face of, you know, what they did, what IDLES does. So it's good. I also really like the drum work throughout the album. Their drummer, it's just, I don't know. I'm just so like connected to any type of beat. Like if I'm not tapping my foot throughout the day or anything, like I'm not, I feel like I'm not alive. So I hear that drum and I just follow it perfectly. So yeah, thank you for bringing this up. It's I remember when we were talking about Idols, you recommended this album, and I did hear a track or two off of it, but not the full thing. So hearing the full thing again really definitely makes me more of a fan and makes me also want to keep an eye out for this album.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Yeah, this might be better than Joy is an Act of Resistance.
He said it. He said it. I heard him.
Might be. As much as I love that album, man, I don't know that I had heard this one in full. I think maybe I had heard a track or two. I can't recall. But yeah, listening to this, my God, man. You kind of said it, Jake. It's a little more like withdrawn and like not as in your face as Joy was. But yeah, like this is a performance, man. All of these guys are just locked in, just really playing their asses off, singing your heart out. Like, there's a lot of emotion behind this. You can tell, like, kind of like what you had said, Matt. He's really putting it out there, singing, writing from the heart, whatever. And it really comes across on this, and it's right off the jump, MTT 420RR, like that song in and of itself. It's like, that's one of the most emotional songs, in my opinion, on the album. Like that end part where it's doing that "Are you ready for the storm" bullshit. It's like, oh my God. It's like, wow, like and then the song ends and you're like, what the fuck? And the rest of the album could be, called a storm, because it is just an onslaught of so many different things going on. And it just picks up the pace as the tracks go. By the end of it, you feel like you're going 100 miles an hour. And it's unreal that it's like what, 40, like I don't even think
I think it's like 40 minutes. It's pretty short. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just fly through it. It's crazy. I love this. They just have so much. I feel like they have so much fun making music, and that I love that shit. So
yeah, I think Jake, you nailed it. This is a very experimental album. Song wise, track listing wise, they just kind of go all over the place. I like how they kind of round it off at the end to get a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more like an anthem kind of lyrically. Yes. But songs like the opening track MTT 420RR is just Joe talking about his addiction issues, and it was February, I was cold and I was high. I waited till February to bring this album up just because I'm silly, and it's fucking cold and it's February. So I don't know. I think that every song kind of takes its own direction. Car Crash is a great like hip hop-esque track. It's just so loud and bombastic and just like in your face when the lights come on. So good. The New Sensation, like they just go through so many different not genres, but different like feels, like emotions. Like it can be kind of slow with the album starting off with MTT and then build into those other tracks, and I think it just takes off from there, and they end it with the end, and it's just, King Snake is a great song. Lyrically, I think they just open it up and they allow everybody that's a fan of punk music and rock music, you can find a little apple to grab that speaks to you, and I love it so much for that reason. I think this whole band knows what they do, and if you see the live performance that I was talking about, the basement, all those band members are so into their craft and like they're so into it, and you can see it and feel it. I recommend watching that, and that's how I got into this album. That's how I grow to love it, and I don't know, these guys are amazing. To see them live would be fun. It'd be a fun show, no matter where you saw them.
Mm-hmm. I am bummed that I fell down this rabbit hole like it just was too short notice to get up to the show in Portland. And furthermore, they opened up on Deftones like Dia de los event that they did for Dia de los Muertos down I think it was at Petco Park. And yeah, Idols, I like saw clips of them doing that show and it was unreal. And I'm like, fuck, man, because if we rewind back to when I brought them up, mm-hmm. The first introduction I had was a live performance of theirs, and this just cemented it. Like hearing Crawl, as I could not get enough of that song, and I'm probably going to play it as soon as we shut down the podcast, because it's phenomenal, and it's just so high energy and just makes me want to see it live, and it makes me like it makes me ready for anything. Like it just pumps me up and shit. And it's like been a while since something has made me like, yeah, I want to be in the pit, man. I want to throw a man. Like I'm just like I want to toss a human. Like
Let's put a floor show at the Wow Hall. There we go. That's what we need.
dude, Idols at the WoW would be a fucking nightmare. And I'm so for it.
Oh my God.
Bring the roof down.
Yeah. And I think like you watch them perform live and Joe Talbot looks exactly how he sounds. Like just he doesn't look like he's very tall, just fucking he's like one of those scrawny shredded dudes that's like just kind of wiry, but you can tell he's just yoked. It's like and then he's sitting there screaming these songs and you actually listen to the lyrics like, no, this is actually like kind of fucking sad. Like, yeah, I'm a fucking crawler. Like it's like if you really kind of dissect the meaning behind some of these songs, it's like gets pretty, like you said, Matt, like it's some pretty dark content. And that's what made me think all these past 2 weeks, like this might be better than Joy because it's like got a deeper, darker meaning, you can tell.
It does.
But yeah, I don't know. Matt, I agree with you. They're incredible. We got to be on the lookout to see these guys. I ain't fucking missing them again, man. I ain't letting it happen.
I like how he turns it around too, because the album is very introspective and very not negative, but talking about addiction and the struggles you deal with life. But at the end of the album, you're getting like, love yourself, love yourself. That song is just like, yeah, don't let people talk down to you. Stand up for yourself, love who you are, and speak out. Don't be silent. And I think he's able to lyrically put that out there in a great way. And this album is so unique, and I think it's a great introduction to this album or this band in general. Crawler is the way to go. Experimental as it is, it's fun.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, with you just said it perfectly. As experimental as it is, I think it's the perfect album to dive into Idols.
It just showcases all the things they can do, and I think like I'm gonna go back to it again. Watch that performance in the basement. You'll see it with your own peepers. There it is.
Hell yeah.
I'll need to look at that now because definitely if we would have gone to their show because they were in Portland, I feel like we would have gotten way more of, and it's just so much better seeing things live. You feel the energy, you feel the emotion, you feel everything about it. But yeah, it's very experimental. It's way more out there than Joy is. So that kind of was hard for the first couple listens when I was getting into it. But then once you do, man, it just hits you like a truck. Like it's just in your face still. You still have some of those punk aspects to it, like the New Sensation. Like that's where I got that like, oh, okay, this is the punk Joy feel of that other album. And then like the opening track, MPT 420, we've already said it before. It's the total complete opposite of it. So just wanting to listen to more of their things now, especially because for this being a fourth album and like pretty new, like within the last couple of years, like they're still developing their sound, they're still trying out new things. Yeah, great album, great listen.
Nice, glad you guys liked it. Like, yeah, let's dive in the top threes.
Okay.
We'll go with honorable mention maybe King Snake and The End. Two great tracks to end the album. Can't sum it up better than that. Number 3, When the Lights Come On. Just a great track altogether. Number 2, Car Crash, because of the hip hop aspect. And then the Beachland Ballroom. We didn't even really talk about that song. Holy shit. That song showcases everything they can do well as musicians. Like it's almost like a ballad, and then it turns into like this punk anthem, and it just goes on beyond that. One of my favorite tracks for sure.
Hell yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you on that one. The Beachland Ballroom is an incredible track. It's in my top 3. I'm not going to tell you where exactly quite yet. Give me a couple. I'll get to it. Honorable mentions for me: MTT and Meds. I gave MTT its love. Meds, that bass line on it's really nice. And the guitar work on this, I think it's just so fun. Like the guitarist especially, I feel like is almost fucking around. He's having so much fun.
He plays his guitar like a bass. It's that high.
Yeah, he's doing all these like crazy like like almost desert sounding, like desert Mario World sounding sounds. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Number 3 for me, Car Crash. Matt, I echo every sentiment you had about that song earlier. And it's apparently about a very bad car crash that he was in. I can relate, and so I kind of, really like that song for that. Number 2 is Beachland Ballroom. Everything that you said, Matt, I again echo every sentiment. Uh, I just love that damaged, like when you can tell that every vein in his head is just pulsing out of his goddamn head. Yeah. And the number 1 for me was Crawl, man. I sent you guys the meme I made and everything. Like, yeah, I'm a little bit of a crawler myself. Like, I love that shit. And that one, I kind of I kind of found my own meaning for that song, and I was like, yeah, like that. That song's deeper than I think people would give it credit for. So yeah, those are my top 3.
Nice.
Okay, I'll go. I like the shithousery that they pull off too. Like they're still like, like the song Whiz, like that. Just the track title alone is like the equivalent of Never Fight a Man with a Perm. Like it's on the same spectrum of that. So. They're still, just having fun with it. So honorable mention Wiz, also Stockholm Syndrome. Number 3, Car Crash. I didn't consider it at first, but Matt, now that you said that, it's got the hip hop feel. I hear it. It has like that, just like kind of like what's the word for it? Not like a boom bap sound to it.
Yes,
like it has
I was gonna say boom bap. You read my mind.
Yeah,
there it is.
Crawl, number 2, it also has that kind of old IDLES feel to it. And then my favorite track was King Snake. Really came back to that one at the end of the album. Like I would hold off to the end of the album for that song specifically. But yeah, great album, man.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up, Matt, because now I gotta fucking find it, and I know how much of a pain in the butt it was for you to fucking find it.
I found a copy that's not even the original cover. And it didn't even have the cover. It was like an alternate cover, and there's no sleeve in it. But House of Records had it. It was like $20. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I would. Yeah. So yeah, that was 2021's Crawler by, good band of the show, IDLES. Which was Matt's pick for this week. Go ahead and listen to that. If you liked or didn't like Joy as an Act of Resistance, I think you'll like this no matter what. I know I've said that about all 3 of these albums today, but I mean it. I genuinely think most people could find something they like about all 3 of these albums. But yeah, that's been Whatchu Spinnin' episode 86. We're going to go ahead, and before we let you go, we're going to let you know what's coming up in about 2 weeks' time. Stick around for me. I love that shit. Let's go ahead and let people know what's coming up. We go in the order that we talked in, and that means I'm going first. I kind of batted around what to bring up. I kind of mentioned this, I think, once or twice on the podcast toward the end of 2024. I'm going with my personal favorite album from last year. I'm going with I Lay Down My Life for You by JPEG Mafia.
There it is.
Oh God!
I was wondering who was going to bring that up first. I like that.
Yeah.
Ooh. Did you see that deluxe edition that he just came out with?
That's why I went and I was listening to that this week, and I was like, I have to bring this up. I've been avoiding it. So JPEG Mafia, baby.
Nice. Fuck yeah, I'm excited for that one. I'm going a little different. I've been really into world music lately, and what I mean by that is just like different stuff from different places and stuff I can't pronounce. So another thing we can have fun with mispronouncing.
Yes.
Nice. Madhu Mokhtar, Afrique Victime, Afrique Victim, came out in 21.
Love that album cover. That's awesome.
It'll be a fun one.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, we're going to stick with the same genre that Dorian picked last week. And this is a band that, after I listened to that From Indian Lakes album, Absent Sounds, kind of dove down a rabbit hole back in 2013 or 2013, 2014, right after my divorce, and just got into a lot of like sad music. This is Foxing the Albatross. Foxing the Albatross. Lyrically, great album. Musically, it's got that kind of math rock vibe, very emo, a little intense, but I think you guys will find some love in it. So
I've heard fantastic things about that album, so I am so stoked. I've heard that. Or I haven't heard it. I've heard a lot about that, so I'm really stoked to get my own ears on it. Fuck yeah.
I
Madhu
have a song like
Mokhtar.
of theirs somehow, but okay.
I found the album online, and the guy that I got like this personal note from the band. I'll share it during the podcast. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right?
Oh damn.
I know. Right.
That's sick.
Mhm.
Fuck yeah, dude. Foxing, Madhu Mokhtar, and JPEG Mafia. 2 weeks from now is going to be a hell of a day, man.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what else has been a hell of a day? Today. This episode 86 of Whatchu Spinnin. I'm Dorian. That's Matt. That's Jake. Thanks for sticking around and watching, listening, and experiencing music with us. Go ahead, be a friend, tell a friend, follow us on Instagram, and listen to some dope music. Listen along with us to these albums before next episode, and be nice to each other. We'll catch you later. Peace.